Hey YouTube. So this is a walk and talk video just because I don't have my little studio set up, and the knee doctor, the guy I went to that told me kind of what was going on, really encouraged me to keep up almost daily activity. So I've been walking each day because I have to walk slower and take time out to stretch and stuff like that. I end up walking for over an hour, but I normally would think an hour was ideal, and I prefer that. But because I'm supposed to walk every day and I have to go slower and I have to stretch a couple times during the walk to make sure that the tendonitis doesn't come roaring back, I'm here. And here's my shirt, guys. Don't be a turd bird. Yeah, I can't advertise that either. Amazon objected to it. I don't care. It's one of those that I tie-dyed when we were in Moab. I took all my merch shirts I had at the time, and when I got to a place for a few days, I tie-dyed them all, and then I just threw them in a bag and left them for the entire time until we came home a month later. And then I took them out and I laundered them and all that stuff, and so the colors are quite vibrant because they sat around for a long time. But you can get this in any color. It's just I got these all in white and then I tie-dyed them. It's kind of hard to see the whole presentation, but I'm a tie-dye freak, you guys. Anybody that's watched me for a little while knows that. Don't worry about my eyes, guys. They're real mad right now. I imbibed last night with a couple different things. And I've never laughed so hard in my life. Mom, Hubs, and I had a great time. Anyway, I know. This is episode 3 of Living Foreign. And I've had a couple people reach out, and I want to address the biggest thing. There's people that are of a certain age and they're on a fixed income and they just want to move down, but they're feeling like they can't. And I'm in your boat. In one of my prior videos, I just talked about how when I take Social Security at 62 and a half, I'm only going to get $1,285. That's all I'm going to get. And, of course, that's taxable, And so I could never live in America. I have Hubs to rely on too. We're a dual income family, but his Social Security would be quite a bit more. But together we'll do great down in Mazatlan. What if you can't do great? What if you're just on your own and you have either a small pension like the one I'm going to have, or a small Social Security, and you can't make it? It's top ramen and living and renting a room when you're like 55 or 60. Okay, Mazatlan is a partial answer. And the reason I tell you this is because we have a neighbor who we're quite close to, and he was born and raised in Mazatlan. He's a national. And that's what expats that know anything call. It's like people that are from San Francisco. They don't call it Frisco. They call it the Bay Area. Okay? And so when you're an expat and you have a little bit of time under your belt there, you don't call people Mexicans. You call them nationals, because that means that they're not just Mexican, they're actually specific to Mexico. That's their native country. Like, I have friends all over the place up here in America. But they're Mexican Americans. They're Mexican, but they're not nationals. They're Americans, right? So a bit of difference there. So anyway, he's a national, and his house is actually just right around the corner from where our casa used to be. I used to look up there around the corner in the casa and see that somebody had painted these steep stairs like piano keys, and I was like, whoever did that must have been pretty cool. And then I met him later, and he was really cool, and I was like, okay, that all tracks. But anyway, he rented his childhood house. He rents it out, but he's very careful with who he does it with, because he wants to stay nice and stuff. And he rented it out to one of my mother-in-law's friends, and she was able to get it for like 500 USD a month to include weekly housekeeping and utilities, an unheard of number. And I don't know if he just did it in part because he was so close to the family and knew us all. But I think he's got it up now for like 600 something. Anyway, it does have, the steep piano stairs, okay? And it's a little dark on the inside, and all the bedrooms are upstairs and things like that. So it's not an absolutely perfectly ideal house. But what's really great about it is you can just be somewhere that's super close and walkable for $600, including utilities. Utilities are big, guys, because if you wanted to live in Mexico full time and rent, you have to consider the utilities. Electric's very expensive in Mazatlan. I don't know about other parts of Mexico, and we're likely to pay $100 a month for our utilities. And you know, we're Coney Island people. We're running our computers all the time. I leave a couple lights on all the time because I like ambient light, like under cabinets, and like one lamp in the guest bedroom. I leave those on all the time. We run our air conditioning at night, so our room is plenty cool. They're our bedroom. And so that's, oh my God, with the savage dog. Anyway, there's always one. So we do use a lot more electricity than our neighbors that live there full time, and nationals for sure. Because you don't get a subsidy or a break on your electric until well into May. And that's when they know everybody has to run their air conditioning so they don't die of heat stroke. It begins there. The hotter weather begins in mid-May, and it's really insufferable in August and September, which is really close to what it was in Hawaii as well. When we lived in Hawaii, August and September were this sultry, no air movement, hotter than F months. And that's when you'd go outside, you'd get hit with the wall of heat, and you would take in a shower. Not that it mattered. You'd have to go in and redo that almost. It was that hot. And it's the same way in Mazatlan, okay? So Hubs and I have already determined, small digression, we've already determined if we were to live down there full time in the future, which that's our plan, we would always take August and September and say, go ingratiate ourselves to the 4 children we have and stay with each one like 2 weeks. Then we wouldn't even need to have a residence outside of America, but we would be able to escape the really bad weather and visit our family at the same time. That makes a lot of sense to us. So anyhow, that's about the best I've ever heard. Most recently, you can probably get a really, really bad property that's like not in a great area, and bare bones and kind of gross and not a lot of windows and maybe really noisy, or it's by the sewer, or has problems. And you know, if you're looking at getting a place between 200 and 400 USD a month, know that it'll have some issues, okay? But it can be done. And the longer you live in, I'm just going to say Mazatlan because that's where we're from. I can't speak to the other parts of Mexico, but many of them are more expensive than where we live. I'm hearing people paying, like I met this guy, he's from our dance class, his name's Devin. He's a younger guy, I'd say somewhere in the 30s. I would put him at 34 to 38, right in there. And he's taking a little bit of a hiatus from working, and he saved some money and he wanted to just come down and live foreign for a while and check it out. He's got a couple of dogs. He just moved into a new apartment. It's nothing special, and it's kind of in a busier area, I thought, and he paid over $1,000 a month for it. So M's place, his house is a super good deal. But he doesn't rent to just anybody. Mom's friend was thinking about maybe being there full time, and she should have. She was an absolute dolt not to take that up. She ended up buying some small place in Arizona, and I guess she's really happy with it, but whatever. But Mexico's the place to be. If you want to make your Social Security, stretch that. It's the place to be. If you want to retire early and you have the means in which to do it, and you can source your income nicely, go ahead. Now, this is mainly the video about how can I afford to live in Mazatlan. I don't have any money. First off, sell everything you own. Because if the dream of living foreign is the top, the high priority, the other stuff is just things. Take your kids as pinch pots and a couple of photo albums. Better yet, scan all your photos and put them into a revolving picture frame thing. And when somebody asks you what you need when you go down there that loves you, say, get me a digital photography frame. Scan them all and put them in there and dump the originals. That's what I do. And then when you get down there, you can shop all the deals and you can still have good food. And I'll just say out of hand, if you think you're going to come down to Mazatlan and you're going to be able to eat out every night and it's going to be a quarter of what it is in the States, it isn't that way anymore. That's gone. So that's not something that's open to people. That's not an option. I find that the prices now in Mazatlan are almost USD on par. And it used to be legitimately half. Okay, it was never that great of a deal. Okay, it was never that great of a deal. Some of the food truck places you can get in and it's close to, 40 to 50% off, but maybe you don't want to do food truck every day. Nothing wrong with food truck every day. It's just that maybe that's not your thing, but you're not going to go anywhere and get those prices. I can remember back in 2007 when we came and it was our anniversary week and we first bought the casa, we could go out and get a breakfast for 35 pesos. So it was $3.50 and you got a coffee, an orange juice, eggs, toast, hash browns, and some kind of a sausage thing. And it was enough to fill you. You know, it wasn't huge portions or anything, guys. When I say eggs and sausage and hash brown, you know, like fill your hand hash browns, a couple of scrambled eggs with a little cheese on them, and 2 sausage links, an orange juice, and a coffee. If you have a huge appetite, that wouldn't work. But if you're just looking to get the whole filled and have something really great and have a dining experience for $3.50, we did okay. Nothing would be commensurate with that now. If you're going to want something like that now, it's going to be between 150 and 200 pesos. It's going to cost you 12, 13 bucks. And somebody would say, well, that was 17 years ago. Well, okay, let's double the prices then. That's fair. It should be 70 pesos, maybe 100 at the outside. It's not. It's like 3-4 times more expensive. I can go out to America right now, and if I'm careful and I know where I'm going, I can pay 10 or 12 bucks for breakfast. Hell, McDonald's is costing that now. You know? So yeah, I'm not super impressed with that. Now we did find a water hole down in Mazatlan where you can get a triple shot compadre tequila on the rocks for like 90 pesos. Super good price. That one particular watering hole right down from the condos. It's where things used to be. If you go to other restaurants right now, it's 100 to 120 pesos a hit for even cheap tequila. And then you're like, well, that's $6 a drink in Mexico, okay? I don't want that. I want $2-3 a drink, okay? So I'd much rather pay 90 pesos plus a 10 peso tip, and it for 100 pesos. Got myself a triple tequila. That's all I need. I can sit there and sip it for 4 hours, enjoy the watering hole, look at the ocean, and giggle with hubs. You know, it's pretty simple. So that's what I'm looking at. So what you need, I'm thinking a bare minimum of what you need coming in every month to just kind of have a little bit of quality of life is at least $1,000. And you know, the rule of thumb they say here in America is that 30% of your income should go toward your mortgage, your house expenses. Okay, that's not including utilities or anything. That's your mortgage or rent. Well, I'm looking at, you know, the cheapest place I've heard of that's halfway decent. I mean, maybe you can go ghetto, guys. I don't know. You know what you can do is $500 a month. Including utilities and housekeeping. Unheard of value. Okay? That's the cheapest I've heard of. You know, if Hubs got creamed by a bus tomorrow and all I had was my $1,285 a month, could I stay in the condo? I think so. The condo has a $260 with today's conversion. HOA. It has a bank trust at about $350 a year. It has property taxes in the 200 something category, and garbage and water's included. So that's one thing I don't have to pay for, but that's kind of cheap anyways. We used to pay, I don't know, 70, 80 pesos a month for our water and it included trash. So it was only $4. So the value in that and for the HOA isn't much, but I'm still a big fan. Anyway, you have to have at least $1,000. I wouldn't be down in Maz with 1 penny less than that because the rent is so expensive now. And that's what you have to consider. Can you rent for $500 a month and make it down there? Absolutely. Are you going to live on the high hog? Not a bit. But it depends on what your needs are, okay? So what does that $500 extra go toward? Well, some of it's going to go toward utilities unless they include it, which is very uncommon. Mexican people know how to computate. Wow, they're good at it. And they'd be like, oh, wow, whiteface, they're going to run a lot of electricity and a lot of air conditioning and all this stuff. I don't want it. Right? And when we had our small condo, we rented it out for a few months and we were charging the people $1,000 with the utilities excluded, and we were low. You know, we weren't trying to grab money. We were just trying to get some in until we could get at the big condo. I got another savage, guys. Another savage dog. I just walked by and they're like, yeah, I got to bark at you because I'm stupid. That's right. In Spanish, torpe. They don't like stupid. They don't like it when you say stupido. That's considered more offensive than like the F word. I never could figure that out because I love the word stupid because I like to assign it to everybody that is. Like, oh yeah, you guys are a whole group. And then another one they like is tonto or tanta from The Lone Ranger. You young people probably don't remember that. I saw reruns when I was little, but it was in my brother's time. He's 10 years older than me, so he saw some of the originals from the early 60s or late 50s or whenever it came out. But yeah, tonto was this absolutely doltish, rocks for brains, Native American. And it wasn't a very good depiction. Like, that would never go now. And they just felt like they were just lazy with the categorization of the characters there. They just assign it to, they wanted the smart guy to be the white guy, and then the dumb guy was the Indian, which, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. But anyway, tonto. They're still using it in Mexico. That means a person that's legit stupid. That's just a second away from getting made fun of. Torpe is more like, that was kind of dumb. You know, where you're not like actually putting somebody down as a dredge. But tonto is. And then if it's a girl, it's tanta. Because why not? That's right. Feminine and masculine, even though it's an adopted term. Because before the Lone Ranger came into being, I don't know what they used then. Before those times. But that's what they used. So, yeah, if you have no budget, you got to have money coming in, guys. There's a couple I know, not real well, just super acquaintance, and maybe not even that, but they travel the world. They like to collect sea glass and beach shells and shells and things like that. And I follow them on their journey, and they're both medical transcribers. So they take on jobs for medical transcriptions so they can live anywhere. And they don't have a house. They just live wherever they want to live. And then they beachcomb, you know, they follow tides, you know, when it's a minus tide and it's out and stuff, it's been stormy, they're out there beachcombing for the entire day. And they've got a lot of flexibility because they take on medical transcription jobs when they need money or whatever, and they just float along like that. That's a little bit what you could do if you were a person like myself who's repurposed my skill set into Fiverr. And right now, Fiverr's making me about what my passive income's making me. And I don't do a lot of work. I mean, I work about 50 hours a week, 40 to 50 hours a week, which I consider to be not bad. And most of it's real early. You guys, I have to get my lashes done again. They're just doing that. Anyway, so you're going to have $1,000. And I suggest, because the Permanente Residente is something where it's arduous and it's kind of expensive, and you have to have a reason for getting it. Like, if you think you're going to end up in Mexico forever after you've been there renting and kind of, you know, testing the waters and stuff, you might go for it then and do it bit by bit, and then try to, like, this is a telecommuter's dream. If you guys have a job where you telecommute, that's fine. But I'm actually kind of talking to people that are getting ready to retire and they don't know that they can. And they want to go somewhere where they can actually have a little bit better daily life and existence, because they know that America's not going to work for them there. So sell everything you own. Go down to Mazatlan, because I think Mazatlan's great. It's accessible. Cost of living is good. The climate's really good. It's only got 2 really bad, tough months that are hot. Everything about it is good. You're not gonna, if you're on a huge budget, you're not gonna be able to go crazy with your electrical. You're not gonna be able to go crazy with eating out. The food's not so bad in the grocery store, for instance. The su carne, you can get 400 grams in a ground beef tube for about 65 pesos, which puts it at about 4-ish, high 3s per pound. But I get mine on special. I wait till they drive it down to like 50 pesos or 48 or 52, 55, something like that. And I just gather up all of them. There's never a limit. And I just buy them all. And I get 80-20 there. So I do that. And then butter is about 50 pesos for close to what would be a pound, like shy pound. And that's about 250. So it's not bad if you make your own food yourself, right? And so there's that. So you got to be light on electricity. You got to be willing to not have a car and be willing to walk around, because you want to live, you know, in the El Centro areas, so that's walkable and you can get your shoes resold, your food, your clothes, everything you need is right there. It's walkable. And then what's the other thing? Yeah, so I think you can do it for $1,000 a month if you're real careful and you're frugal. And you can enjoy the climate and the ocean nearby and the culture and everything. And you don't have to worry about making ends meet. Now, if you rent, just know that at any time they can say, I'm selling this house, or I'm going to remodel it, or I'm not going to rent to you next year, or whatever. That's why buying appealed to us. But it appealed to us in part because we were 39 and 40. We knew we had 40 years of life expectancy, or we hoped we did. And that buying made a lot of sense, so we did. And so far it has. Next season, next December, we think we're going to go back in December after the presidential election is done. And we're going to that'll be our 18th season. And we'll probably stay there about 5 months for sure. I thought we would stay longer. We stayed 6 months this last time, but we just want to see kind of how things are going to shake out in America after that election, and to kind of determine our timeline down there based on that, right? So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Light on electricity, no really going out to a restaurant. Get a cheap rent. Don't rent anywhere where the curbs are high if you want to be there year round. That means that in the summer it floods, and that's why the curbs are high. They've built them up over time to try to keep the houses dry. So we knew that pretty early on. And you won't, the good news about renting, you guys, is that you don't have to pay HOAs or a bank tax. You don't have to be permanente. How long can you stay down in your rental? Well, if you've got a tourist visa, you're there for 6 months. And then you have to go up to the border and cross into your native country, America, and then you can come back. So there is that fuss. You know, that means that you're probably, if you're on a budget, going to have to take one of their buses and go all the way to the American border, which is a couple days and a night from Mazatlan, and cross that border and show that you did, and then you can come back for another 6 months. But that's always a thing. I know people that did that. I know one guy, he had a tourist visa, and he'd go up there to America every April and do his taxes with his tax guy and shop and get new shoes and eat American food, stay there 2 or 3 days, and then come back. Whereas his partner had gotten permanente. So some people just don't want to have permanente. But I like it. But I'm talking to the person that's got a terrible budget. Like, they have $1,000. I really don't think you can make it for less than $850 or $900. I don't. I wouldn't even try it. 10 years ago, I would have said, oh yeah, you can do it for $850 or $900. But that was before this administration and the COVID and all those things that changed our world. And not for the better, I don't think. The only thing I thought that came out of COVID that was better was the telecommuting space. Seems like everybody now has an option to work from their home and produce tasks and things for hire. And I think that's super great. That's super great. But no, that didn't help. So that's kind of it. The Mexican cell service is super great, and I have a smartphone, and I pay 300 pesos a month, and I can do hotspot, I can call America, I can text America, I can go anywhere and have great connectivity. It's about $18 a month, guys. So you can have a really good cell service. Internet's not too bad. We pay about $25 a month for internet, and it's high speed. So there's that. And it depends on where you live. Like the Casa, we were kind of totaled out on the Casa because it didn't have the infrastructure for, what is that stuff, that cable? Anyway, the high-speed stuff. It didn't have that in place, but our condo did. And so we were able to have higher speed internet. So you can have a cell phone. You can just take it down there. They'll take the SIM card out of it if it's older and put a new one in, which is what I did. and it works like a charm, and my connectivity was great up here. But we're back with Verizon on a package plan because it was less expensive. And so unfortunately, I'm back into the $200 a month thing instead of the $18 a month I was enjoying in Mexico. So I don't know what I'll do in the future. I might just pay this phone off and then get this one set up in Mexico because it piggybacks off of T-Mobile up here in this area where we live, is the northwest corner of Washington State. So that's kind of what we're doing. So that's the whole gist of it, guys. You can have internet, you can have cellular for really, really cheap. Okay, you can buy food in the grocery store. It's cheaper than in America, but not a ton. Maybe 25% if you're clever and you look around. If you're really wanting to save money with food, you need to go to the Mercado, which is a big square open market thing, and that's where you get the real deals on meats and fruits and vegetables and stuff. And they usually have stuff priced so you don't have to guess, and you'll have to know metric. So you have to get familiar with kilos and things like that, so you know that when you get a kilo of ground beef, for instance, it's actually 2.2 pounds. So you have to have some familiarity. I recommend learning all the numbers first, because then once you have all that sorted in your head, you can't be ripped off because you understand numbers. So that's important because, if you're dumb enough to be ripped off, they'll do it. They'll just be like, okay, you're stupid, you're rich, here's what I want. I don't mean that as a flaw against the Mexican people. It's just that they're in a bartering system. And they're like, oh, if you'll pay this, then you'll pay that, So they're not looking out for you. You have to look out for your own self. So numbers were the first thing I became fluent in. And I don't think to this day I gotten ripped off. I paid exactly what I wanted for everything. And if it was a price I wanted to pay and they thought that maybe they ripped me off a little bit, they can, but it's all about my perception, right? So you have to have that minimum. So sell's cheap. Getting your nails done is cheap. I mean, if you had surplus income, say you had $1,500 a month. Well, now you're talking, okay? Now you're talking. Now you've got discretionary income. You can go out to a restaurant once a week. You can get your nails done. If you've got a dog, you can get it groomed. Dog grooming, we pay 1,000 pesos once a month to have our dogs groomed, including tip, at $60 USD approximately. And here in America, it's 120. I don't know. I've been gone for 6 months, so we'll see. But it's about half. And then getting the haircut, I got my hair trim. It was 120. And that's about $7 USD. It would cost me over 20 in America. Getting my nails done is about, for a full set, getting put on the first time, tips and the whole bit, that's probably going to run me about $3.50. And that's about $20-ish, 21, something like that. It would be 50 in the States. So you're seeing that, it's between 35 to 50% the cost it would be in the States. So the discretionary income is like, if you've got over $1,000, every $100 you have past $1,000 is just that much better. Okay, but you can make it for 1,000, but you'll have to familiarize yourself. Here's one last tidbit before I let you guys go on this video, and that is hostels. If you've got nothing, I mean, you're just bare bones, you can go down and stay in the Mazatlan hostel. It used to be down kind of close to the Casa, and it looked really nice. I don't know what happened to it now, but if you want to just get the sense of the lay of the land, and you want to, stay down in Mazatlan for $10 a day or $20 a day or something, you want to just find a place, that's what I recommend. And then you can go to the food trucks and you can eat there. And it's enough for you to understand whether or not you can make it work. Now, I recommend also getting a Charles Schwab account. It's international, worldwide, and when you have banking fees, the ATMs will charge you between $3 and $5 per withdrawal. I recommend getting Charles Schwab set up. And then they charge you $2 initially, but then at the end of the month, they return all the fees to you. So that's what I like. Really user-friendly. It's geared toward the expat. And that's what I would do. So Charles Schwab, you're broke, you don't have any money, hostel. Okay, get a hostel and then get down there, bring everything you have, just keep your money in your bank. And if you find a place, it behooves you to maybe get somebody that's Mexican that you've gotten friendly with to come in and help you a little bit. Because you might have a doc to sign or something like that. You don't want to get screwed over, right? Yeah, every $100 you make past 1,000 allows you more discretionary income. But 1,000's kind of basically for me and from my perspective, bare bones. And who knows? Maybe you can rent a room. Maybe you can get a super, super small house and get it less than 500. But what if you got a place, for example, that's 300 USD a month, but then they want the utilities and the cable and all that stuff separate, and then you're right up to 500, So I very much prefer utilities included, and if they're not, you got to get it for way cheaper, like a couple $100 cheaper. And you might have to climb stairs too. If you get a place for 200 or 300 a month, and it's real hard to get that because you're gringo, right? So they're going to automatically think because you got a white face, you're rich, which isn't the truth. I mean, you've heard my story, guys. We weren't even affluent. We were just innovative. That's how we made Moz work. So if that's your thing, then you have to remember to keep your money in your bank, save your pennies, at least $1,000. Go down there, stay in a hostel. If you're a young person like a Gen Z or a millennial, you can totally do this. And then if you're a telecommuter, you should do it. You're still paying taxes from the United States. You still have to, do all that nonsense. But if you're a telecommuter and you can live anywhere, this is really open for you, And you might even be able to, if you have a decent income, 50,000 or more, you might be able to do all this. Plus, if you rent and you don't become permanente, there is no proof of income coming in every month. You can live as frugally, as rich as you want, depending on how much your income sourcing is. So yeah, this is the shoestring budget. I have absolutely no money advice. Save your money, sell everything, go live in a hostel for a while in Mazatlan, because we have one there, and see what you can procure for housing. And then go from there. And you can do it. If you can get a cheap rental, you can live the dream. So anyway, love you guys. This is just kind of an anecdotal episode. It's an insertion episode. I'm not actually talking about the story of our sequence. I'm talking about how to afford Moz on a budget. But I will have that next one shortly.